I'd like to begin my remarks by saying it's a great delight to visit Singapore again. My first awareness of this remarkable nation arose from a fellow graduate student at McGill University, Ms. 𝗦𝘂𝗯𝘁. She became a professor of biochemistry, and we remained in contact for 60 years, and I even met with her yesterday. My curiosity of Singapore was kindled since that chance encounter at McGill in dark and dank lab. The people of Singapore rebuilt this nation from the ruins of war, a remarkable resilience and transformation since that terrible time. They rebuilt it into a nation of multiracial harmony and social unity, rapid economic growth and development, world-class defense and security, a profound commitment to education and human capital, efficient and clean government, as reflected by Ms. Josephine Teo, a global model of urban planning and international influence. It's now one of the most prosperous, stable, and well-governed nations. It reflects your determination to live up to the 5 stars on the flag of Singapore: democracy, peace, progress, justice, equality. Yet you face challenges, external and internal. Among the most pressing internal threats is drug use, particularly among the young. It threatens good health, it threatens safety, it threatens your economic strength, it threatens your national security, it demands vigilance, it demands solutions to safeguard the future of this magnificent nation. And so let us begin. Remember that today you'll be receiving enough information, it's as if you're drinking water out of a fire hydrant. The theme of what I'm going to present to you is the importance of prevention with regard to drug policy. For if we don't prevent drugs from infiltrating the minds of our youth, we are going to be nations awash in tsunamis of drugs in the future. One of my friends, a medicinal chemist and biochemist, was able to computer generate 72 million drugs, possibilities for antidepressants without hallucinogenic activities. And of course, once you generate 72 million, it's a matter of time before you can make thousands of these and just awash the country and nations with unlimited amounts of drugs. We're all aware of the consequences of substance use and substance use disorders, the consequences to the brain, to compromised brain function, the compromises to mental health, including depression, psychosis, and so many other emotional disorders that young people face, the compromises to health, the compromises with regard to sucking the life out of our legal system into attending to this problem, the compromises at home, the number of times that I have met families where mothers and fathers have said to me, once my child died of a fentanyl overdose, once my child became psychotic because of marijuana use, once my child began hallucinating constantly after using LSD, family hope disappeared. We no longer looked to the future. We no longer looked with pride at our children. All we could think about were the financial, emotional costs of this terrible, terrible event in our lives, and that nobody seemed to feel this vision of a strong family always looking to more accomplishments, to more achievements within our children. We're also aware of the compromises of work with regard to drugs, because drugs can interfere with work performance, as you'll see in a few moments, and immense compromises in terms of national costs. What a waste of money. For example, in the United States, the estimates for the opioid crisis run from $72 billion a year to $400 billion a year. That's just for one drug. So what are we going to try to accomplish in the next hour? First, to equip you with knowledge. Why should we work together to prevent youth drug use and restrict access? So the knowledge falls into two categories: the risks for using drugs, and we'll look into those risks, the risks for the developing adolescent brain, and the risks of using drugs. In terms of the three drugs that seem to plague Singapore now, they certainly are plaguing the United States as well. The second thing I would like to deal with is action, prevention strategies, because we all know that we cannot arrest and we cannot treat our way out of this problem. We have to prevent as well. We have to do all three, because all three are essential in effective drug policy. And we're going to look quickly at some prevention strategies: primary prevention, which is a global media campaign and internet campaign. We're going to look at the importance of parents in the home that influence people, their young people, for using drugs or influence them for avoiding drugs. And we'll also take a brief glance at the importance of culture and critical importance of policies. So what are the risks of using drugs? People categorize them in many ways, but I categorize them in three. First of all, the individual risk. They're genetics. Genetics accounts for between 30 and 70% of drug use, depending on the drug, depending on the individual. The age of onset is critical. The younger a child begins to use drugs, the more damage the drugs can produce in that child's brain. Psychiatric comorbidities. There is a significant number of people who have psychiatric problems, who resort to drugs to try to alleviate their demons. And so I always say drugs make a person feel good or make them feel better, but that's a short-term fix, because the long-term fix is in the negative ledger. Their personalities, if they have oppositional defiant disorder, if they have ADHD, if they have some other personality issues, that's also a risk factor. Stress and trauma are clearly risk factors. The drug itself is critical. The legal status of a drug. We all know that the most widely used drugs in the United States and everywhere in the world are the legal ones: alcohol and nicotine. The legal status of a drug, if it's legal, it gives the imprimatur of normality, of safety. It gives individuals who are using a sense of security that what they are doing is fine. Legality is critical to address. Access is critical. The potency, how often a drug is used, what the dose is, the route of administration, and the price. And of course, the environment. Parents, home, friends, school, culture, perception of risk is equally critical. The perception of risk for marijuana in the US is at an all-time low. It's never been this low. It's plummeted to about a half what it used to be in recent years, from 2007 to 2022, and it's about the same in 2024, so I didn't update this. The perception of risk for all other drugs is much higher amongst young people. So we have to recognize that perception of risk can also be a critical factor in driving use. The environment, what kind of environment are some people growing up in that foment, that catalyze drug use? Poor family and social support, strife at home, arguments, fights, lack of hope, childhood adversity, absence of loving relationships, neglect, a high level of social stressors, divorce in a family, school problems, relationship problems, no hope, no jobs, no money, no extracurriculars, and social media that encourage drug use as social connectedness, and friends who distribute drugs, who lure children, lure their friends, lure their classmates into use. So the environment is critical as well.